really going live on YouTube, on Facebook here. Woo! I don't know if I'm going to be able to turn it all off here. Oh, well.
All good.
Go live.
Like
Okay. I think we are live everywhere. And look at that. It's right on 7 o'clock.
Perfect.
So maybe you guys are watching on YouTube. Maybe you're watching on Facebook. Maybe you have logged in and registered, which is awesome. This is the best way for us to be able to keep up. Hey, Margaret's from Halifax too. Goodness. Hey, Jen. So thank you, everybody, for coming and being here to watch The Anatomy of a Deal. I'm pretty passionate about the numbers. I'm pretty passionate about having people be able to understand what it is, what kind of deal, so that they can analyze and get things through. So that's why we created this webinar, is for you to be educated, a little bit more aware, and come out on the other side knowing your numbers as well as you can. So this is the anatomy of a deal. I'm going to get started. This is going to be a recorded presentation. And so if you're not here live, that's cool too. You're going to be able to watch this at a later time. So where are we over here? Okay. So do you have a standard pro forma? Do you understand what the standard items on a pro forma would be? Well, do you even understand what a pro forma is? Well, you know what? Where's all this information coming from? There's lots of different webinars for you to be able to places for you to be able to look, and items that you're going to be able to know. So I want to be able to break down in the next 45 minutes what you are going to learn on the anatomy of a deal. Okay, but who am I to be able to share this information with you? So I'm Mandy. We'll say I'm the president of a company that I created called Solutions Driven Management. I am an award-winning real estate investor. I do love joint ventures. I'm an expert joint venture specialist, known as the JV Queen. I have 150 plus investment properties. That's, over the lifetime of us being investors, and 40 plus JV partners. Okay. Since 2014, we have invested in 8 cities in Ontario. Certainly getting ready to, and even after my show guest today, being ready to go outside of the province, outside of the country, and who knows what kind of global impact we might have down the road. I have 300 clean, safe, and appropriate houses right now. That's certainly a key term that I use a lot. Clean, safe, and appropriate. Touched 1,200 families and over $50 million in real estate transactions since I've started. Okay. The pro forma can be so busy. The numbers can be complicated. And I don't even know if this investment is truly a fit. Am I looking for cash flow? I'm looking, wow, but the ROI over here. Oh, but I have to have $200,000 in this deal. But yet this deal, I get some money back. So, there's lots of different things to consider within a pro forma. And I really want to break that down for you. So in the next 45 minutes, you are going to learn how to clearly read the pro forma. You will learn how to determine if this is a deal or no deal. And you will learn if the deal fits your investment goals. Are you a cash flow person who is looking for a specific need for cash flow? Or are you somebody that is just looking to place funds for the long-term preservation of your wealth, to be able to have some diversification in your investment portfolio? Okay. Let's see. Sorry. Oh, these aren't going that way. So there are 4 questions you need to ask yourself. Okay. How much capital do I need? What are the risks? What is my return and when do I get it? And what is the exit strategy? Okay. So that's how much capital, what are the risks, what is my return, and what is the exit strategy for said property? Okay. There are lots of different ways for you to break that down. What is a joint venture? Well, a joint venture is when 2 people come together to be able to bring their unique skills to the table for you to be able to say, I have some time and I have some capital. I have the ability to qualify for a mortgage. I have some expert knowledge that I'm going to be able to bring and create a deal. And so two people come together. The first question you're going to ask yourself is to determine the capital required for the deal. How much money do I need? That's truly what you're asking yourself to be able to determine if this is going to be a deal that you're going to want to do or not. I don't know if you guys can see, I'm playing around on my screen here a little bit. Okay. I don't like this. Zoop, 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 zoop. Fellow investor, young investor, he borrowed 100% capital at 17% for purchasing a property and renovations, okay? So how much capital did he need? He needed the full purchase price and he needed the full renovation, okay? And he needed carrying costs and closing costs. And he borrowed all of that money at 17%. The project went over budget, over timelines, and did not happen to be in the year of 2021. And I think the year would have just saved a lot of people for these kind of things. But in his case, because he was dealing with the market conditions at the time, he went over budget, over timelines, and he ended up that his flip was a flop, and he had lost $40,000 in 2019. Okay, so this was 2019. So it's really not all that long ago that the market, if the market doesn't shift, and right now in 2021, there's a lot of people that are finding that the market has just gone up. That's great. But what if it doesn't? What if it doesn't continue? And if we speculate, that's a good word. If we speculate that the market's going to continue to go up, then we might find ourselves in some uncomfortable situations. Okay. Patrick bought the right asset with no emotion and was able to finance it traditionally with the bank at 80% loan to value. And he was on par for a great profit without a heartbreak. Okay. So it is really important for you to understand no emotion in this, and is it the right purchase for me? Okay. So you really need to understand the capital that's required. Okay. Down payment. Are you 80% loan to value, 75% loan to value? Is it a 50% loan to value because you're buying a really dilapidated building? Or is it finished? Are you going to buy it with your HELOC funds and buy it in cash, finance it after? So what is the down payment capital required? What is the closing costs and the carrying costs? Are you doing a furnished rental that there is going to be some furnishing costs? You're going to a lawyer? Is it a province that has land transfer? Is there any other tax implications in being able to buy this property? That's all included in your closing costs. An appraisal is included in there, possibly depending on the property and the timing, possibly a home inspection. And renovation costs and estimates for timeline. So you need to know how much capital are you going to need to renovate this property. So those are the three things that you need to have in mind to be able to know how to calculate the amount of capital that is required for you to be able to put into a purchase. Okay. Now, where do you find that on the pro forma? To me, that should be jumping out at you. And right here in the middle, you will see total cash required. In this case here was $112,000. Okay. And that broke it down. Again, you can see here, we broke it down to down payment, a reserve fund, initial improvements. Obviously in this property, there wasn't much to be able to be done. And then some closing and carrying costs. And the closing and carrying costs, maybe you're setting up a corporation to be able to put this property in, and you're going to need to account for that cost as well. Okay, so that's just really important. That's one of the first things that you're going to need to know, is to know how much capital is going to be required. Okay, next, understand the risks. What are the risks that are going to be associated with this asset? Okay, I really want you to be able to ask that question. Don't be afraid to ask that question. Don't try and hide behind it. Don't think that this is all glory and there's no potential downside. I want you to be able to ask that question of a developer, of a partner, of a builder, of yourself so that you can say, yeah, I've taken off my rose-colored glasses and I'm certainly able to evaluate this deal. Okay. Our story to be able to say Wanda got into a JV partnership with a couple of well-known with a couple from a well-known networking group. Hey, you go to these networking groups and two people come together and like, hey, I have money. Hey, I've got a property. Let's joint venture. But they didn't talk about the downside. And when things went south, it became a legal matter and a finger-pointing mess. Literally. And I was involved in this to be able to say, like, okay, not that one needs to be right or wrong, but how do we get you guys out of the mud? Okay. Myself in a JV at the beginning of COVID, this is such a great story coming out a year after COVID had started. We ran into several unknowns, like completing our renos, building inspectors, limitation on trades, being able to go into our renovation project, finding tenants, everything, because we had our heads on with regular communication. We were able to maneuver through and get an even better end result. Okay. That doesn't mean that we would have not gone through all those things, or would it have been nice to have a project that didn't have all those bumps in the road. But the point is that we had a very good open communication. And so we both really understood the risks before we even got into it. Okay. So if you are partnering with somebody, or again, you're going in with a developer, maybe you are investing in another province that you've never been in today, another state, another country. You know, do you know the market? Do you know the market, or are you partnering with somebody who truly does know the market? It's not two unknown people in an unknown city. Okay. Do they have a proven track record of getting around obstacles? You know, when you sit down in an interview, and maybe it's been years since you guys have been in an interview fashion, and one of the very top questions that they ask are, tell me a time when you had a problem with a coworker. And you sometimes don't like to talk about those uncomfortable situations, but it actually shows that you are acknowledging those situations, and, you know, what is the way that you've been able to get around it or maneuver it. So that's kind of what I am saying when I say, you know, have you been able to say, does your partner, does your builder, does your real estate agent that you're working with have a proven track record? And tell me about some of those times that they ran into a situation and how they got out of it. Super important here when you're trying to evaluate the risks that are associated with a potential opportunity. And how much time have they had in the market? If you were to say that you have a brand new real estate investor and who's had a lot of success in the last 6 months, okay, we would say that from January of 2021 to June, right now, June 3rd of 2021, almost anybody would be able to say that they had they've had some great results in the real estate market. Okay, so maybe this isn't necessarily the best time to evaluate if who you're working with has been in the market long enough. Okay. So here are some testimonies that I have from some joint venture partners, from fellow investors, to be able to say, you know, look at that, like, we're in. I was like, you know, wow, you did it. Congratulations. You're amazing. First time real estate investors. And we did it. Us and you. Thank you, Mandy, for your patience. Okay. Patience is definitely a really big factor when it comes to your first investment, when it comes to being able to answer all those questions for a new investor. You don't need somebody that's going to rush you through. You want somebody to be able to take the time and be able to answer those questions for you. Okay. Look at this one, October 28th, that would be 2020. It was like appraisal came in at 480,000. It was almost a little bit of a birthday. So that was 100% of their funds back, and say $25,000 over and above in 6 months during COVID. Like, there's a track record for you. There's the ability to know that if there is a risk, if other pandemics happen to hit you, I can honestly say I've invested through a global pandemic, and I've been able to maneuver all the ups and downs and the changes that had happened in the market. Okay, that's really important. Okay. know your return on investment, your ROI. Okay. I really want you to be able to compare apples to apples. Well, hey, there's a duplex conversion in Hamilton. Hey, there's a single family in Windsor. Hey, there's a multi-unit or a suited house, we'll say, in Edmonton. And you're trying to be able to say which one of these is going to meet the needs that I have for my properties. So you really want to be able to make sure that you are comparing apples to apples. Okay. So I have a JV partner and they thought they were partnering with somebody on a flip when really they were just the private money lender. Their return was a fixed 12% interest. Now the owners of the asset went on to double their profits even after paying out my lender. So as much as there was a 12% ROI, it wasn't necessarily that he was partnering. He wasn't getting an equity position. He was getting a fixed interest rate. Okay. Once I showed them the power, so same people, they came to us and they said, Mandy, there must be a way that we're going to be able to see some better returns than what we just got. I showed them the power of my joint ventures and how being a passive JV partner worked. And we got into a deal where their asset returned 80% in year one, giving them a 40% passive return compared to 12 the year before. Now I could go, and the continuation of that slide right there is that we just refinanced that asset now. We bought it in 2018. We are in 2021, and it's now an infinite return, meaning that my partners got back all of their money. We still maintain ownership of the asset, and there is no capital left invested. Just amazing. But if they were to have just stayed with their 12% return, they would have 3 years at 12% on $100,000. They would have had a $24,000 return. But instead, because they came in on a joint venture, we were able to give them all of their 100% back. And yes, the property is still rented to doctors today. So just a phenomenal story. Make sure you know what your ROI is. Okay. Now, I keep it simple, stupid. You know me, I'm pretty straightforward. I like to tell you how it is. How you calculate your ROI is cash flow. So that is all of your income minus all of your expenses will leave you with a certain amount afterwards. In the small residential, we definitely include our mortgage payment in there. Even after paying your mortgage, there's going to be some cash that's going to be left over, hence cash flow. Okay. And every month that you pay your mortgage, there is a portion of that that is mortgage interest and principal pay down. And that principal pay down part is actually money that's being paid off of our mortgage. So it's another way that we add on to our ROI. Active appreciation. Are you putting some muscles, some sweat equity, some elbow grease into your property to be able to turn it over? Maybe you're painting, maybe you're putting some flooring down, you're changing the curb appeal from the outside. Maybe there's a vacant unit and you're able to increase the rents. I've gone into some beautiful looking rental units these days where both the owners and the tenants have really taken care of their units, and it shows very well. And so that is one way for you to actively push up the value of the asset. Hence, it's called active appreciation. Okay. You are actively increasing the value of the house. And then there's the passive appreciation where you really don't have to do anything. And by having bought the property in 2010 and continuing to own it for 10 years, the asset naturally, with everything that's going on in the global economy, the asset goes up in value. And that is just a passive appreciation. Some people say, oh, I don't like to put in a passive appreciation. Hey, and I understand that. But if we take a 30-year history, sorry, but you can't pretend that passive appreciation is there. If you were to go to your mom, hey, mom, I'd like to buy a house for the same price that you bought a house in 1970, she's going to laugh at you. But it also goes to say, if you want to buy a house at the same price that your mom bought a house in 1970, maybe you're going to be willing to get paid the same amount that your mom got paid in 1970. And so we obviously have to keep everything kind of going up to keep in line with the economy, with the movement, with currencies. And I really just want you to be aware that, yes, there's going to be some inflation going on post this global pandemic, and having your money invested in real estate is just going to be one of those ways that you're going to be able to hedge the costs of inflation. Okay, so those are your 4 ways that you're calculating cash flow: mortgage pay down, passive appreciation, or active appreciation, and passive. Okay, 4 ways divided by, and here they are here. You're going to see them. So again, my pro formas have it all laid out. So you've got cash flow, mortgage pay down, forced appreciation. You could call that active, and then your passive appreciation. So in certain cities, I will put 4% appreciation. Other cities, I will put 5%. I did buy a home in Toronto recently that I did put a 6% appreciation. And so I'm just quite comfortable with those numbers. But 3% is the, if you want to be very cautious, you can just put down 3%. If there's a lot of market fundamentals that you are aware and you have been researching, then 4%, 5% could be very conservative. If you are watching these and somebody has Oshawa went up 26% last year, so I'm going to put, 20% appreciation on this pro forma, that would be a speculative amount, and I wouldn't really suggest it. I would be asking for their explanation why they have put that much. And just because it's happened in 1 year does not mean that it's going to have that much appreciation in the next year. So again, come back to a very conservative, passive appreciation for you to be able to go, okay, I'm acknowledging that the values will go up, but I'm not speculating on by how much that they are going to go up. If you invested in 2016 to 2017, what kind of returns would you have had? If you had invested 2019 to 2020, wow, right? You would have been investing through a pandemic. And here we are, 2020 to 2021. And I don't think anybody were to have been able to see or speculate the pandemic coming and what was going to happen post-pandemic, and all this money that's been created, and the interest rates and the change in stress tests. So, when is the best time to invest? Today. And the next best time, or the best time to invest was yesterday. The next best time is right now. Know your exit strategy. This is really important. So what's the fastest way to your destination? You can take 1,000 wrong turns, or you can use a GPS to get there the right way. I almost don't go anywhere in a place that I don't know without my GPS on. It's concise, it's to the minute. I can just follow it and know that I'm going to get to the destination that I want. And so that is definitely something that you want to take into consideration as you are choosing to build your portfolio, is what is the fastest way to your destination. A JV partner of mine decided to sell only 1 year into owning the asset. It was not the planned strategy. This left us with mortgage fees to pay because we had to break our mortgage. It left us with realtor commissions that we were not ready for. It left us with very, very little mortgage pay down to buffer some of that, to buffer some of the extra expenses. And we got out with just our head above water. And I say that as in, we each lost identical amounts. In my joint ventures, we do split all the losses. And so we each lost about $7,000, just over $7,000. So not a bad situation for the process that we had gone in. Now, was it the right strategy? Was it the planned strategy? No, this was supposed to be a 5-year buy and hold. And if we would have just held it from when we sold it for an extra 9 months, 6 to 9 months, here we are, the values would have significantly gone up, and maybe we wouldn't have been in that loss situation. Okay, so know your strategy and stick to it. So the terms of a joint venture they're known going in. The strategy is known right from the beginning. I do 5-year joint venture terms. Now, don't get me wrong, I am considering a shorter one, maybe 3 years, to be able to make sure that if the market is continuing to change, that we have the ability to transition the property out in a shorter term. We refinance at the end of year one when the renovations are complete. Maybe the renovations are done in 3 months. We're still going to refinance in 1 year. It's just part of the strategy for financing. And we're going to hold for another 4 years until the mortgage term is up. And then at the end of the 5 years, we're going to have a discussion. Do we want to refinance the asset? Do we want one partner to buy the other partner out? Or do we want to externally sell it? So straight up front, we do know the strategy going in for my joint ventures. It's very clear as we discuss it. So an exit option I just described there, we can sell it to with a realtor and have an outside buyer. We can refinance it and hold it for another 5 years, and that's a nice, good discussion that we have with each other to be able to say, are you good to refinance in a financial situation to be able to qualify for the mortgage again? Do we want to hold this asset for the next 5 years? Is it the type of asset we want to keep in our portfolio? Has it been one that has performed well, or one that just for whatever reason you keep attracting the wrong kind of clients, or the clients that just kind of have problem after problem? Maybe it's a noisy property and there's, maintenance issues that just continually come up. And you might say, yeah, you know what? I don't want to refinance at the end of 5 years, and you want to just sell it. And there's again the possibility that one JV partner can buy the other one out. Somebody wants to maintain ownership of that asset, and the other one says, I'm looking to change up my strategy a little bit. I'm ready to be able to have a buyout. Okay, so those are the exit strategies that I discuss with my joint venture partners. And here we are. This was one of those, this was a home run deal that we had in September of 2020. You know darn well that I talk to you about real situations, real properties. They're in the here and now. This isn't something that's happened, far off in the past. Okay. So this property here with the estimated ARV, and if you don't know, ARV is after repair value. And there's a down payment of $57,000, initial renovations, carrying costs. We'd asked our JV partner to come in with $110,000. And for that, we had anticipated a 48% return. And he was like, heck yes, I'm coming in. I like the sounds of this asset at 48% return. But what actually happened, you will see that the down payment was the same. Purchase price didn't change. But our ARV, our actual after repair value, came in from an appraisal. We hired a third-party company to be able to perform an appraisal. And that appraisal came in at $450. Okay. And as you can kind of see, the only other number that's really changed there is the initial renovations. We'd anticipated $45,000 and our actual renovation funds were $40,000. Okay. So we only needed $106,000 from our partner, but based on the fact that it came in at such a higher after repair value, we were able to give our partner back all of his money, all $106,000, and there was $22,000 to split after all of the money was back. So that property now, in a 6-month timeline, has become an infinite property. Okay. But what I really want to stress here is that my partner bought into this with that estimated ARV of 360. So if you're looking for somebody to give you a pro forma that has the infinite return on it, probably keep waiting and, don't waste too much time waiting around for that infinite return property. I have a lot of JV partners that are like, yeah, I'd like a little bit higher return. And, you can put on there, do you estimate 360? Would I've ever estimated 450? No, because I think a 48% return is significantly fine. Speculating to much more than that just kind of makes me uncomfortable, and I don't need to do that. So here we are. Let's run some numbers. Again, standard pro forma, suited house, renovation, a brand new turnkey condo, what does that look like? Let's get into some of the numbers here so that you would be able to understand a pro forma and what the numbers are. Okay. Okay. So these are here. I'll even kind of go back. I have 5 properties in Fairmont Hot Springs, BC. They are literally 105,000, 95,000, and 140, I believe. 135 is the last unit that is left that way. So 5 units under $135,000 a pop. So what do the numbers look like on being able to analyze the anatomy of a Fairmont Hot Springs deal? So let's take a look here. Okay. So for this one here, it is a smaller, one of the smaller units. And I did this based on, should you qualify for a mortgage, or should you, or could you just finance it with a HELOC, stabilize the property? You know, I use that word quite a bit. I want to encourage you to be able to use that word. Curtis, that's one of Curtis's favorite words, is stabilize. And I want you to be able to know that you're going to be able to stabilize this property. So let's just say you had a HELOC. Let's borrow the HELOC, use $105,000. You're going to need $114,000 to close. So that's going to be some closing and carrying costs, as well as a furniture package that's going to come with the condo to be equipped. Okay. So in this case, you are putting up $114,000. Now, what you might not be able to see on here. Oh, yeah, you can, maybe it's on the next one. Yeah, okay. So let's just anticipate that you buy it, and we're already seeing some major movement. Welcome to 2021. And this is quite a strategy for a lot of people. They buy the property in cash, they stabilize it, they get it figured out, they get it cash flowing well, and then they feel some of the benefits of the market that's changing. And then they go to the bank and they say, hey, okay, I've got this property, now I'd like a mortgage on it. So based on some appraisals that we've already had for these Fairmont Hot Springs condos, these B units have come in at $125,000 for an appraisal. So you might be thinking, but Mandy, is that speculation? And the answer is no. When I look at an after repair value, I am getting comps from realtors. I'm talking to fellow investors. You should see some of the conversations I have with fellow investors, being able to say, hey, what did you get for your last appraisal? What did it come in at? What are the comparables? What might be sold off market that nobody really is knowing about? And we can share that information with an appraiser to be able to know that that's the value. So this condo here, I know based on some appraisals that it will be appraised at $125,000. But even let's just say you wait 12 months to be able to see what is going on in the market. So in 12 months, you are going to be able to put a mortgage on this. You are going to get you're going to get $100,000 back. Boom, right here. An after repair value mortgage. You're going to get back $100,000, and you'd originally put in $114,000, leaving you only $14,000 invested. So your ROI is these things right here. Oh, no, I'm still not in that. Oh, that's okay. So your 3 things that we talked about: cash flow, mortgage pay down, of which there's no mortgage pay down when you're buying it with cash. So cash flow, mortgage pay down is none. Active appreciation, which is where the value goes up to 125, and possibly maybe you're going to do some more renovations and you'll be able to increase the value even higher if you could. Okay. And so this is a 50% return on investment for a little condo that all it's costing you is $114,000. Okay. So far in my anatomy of a deal, we've determined how much capital is going to be required and what those items of capital could be for you. I want you to be able to understand the risks, how to talk about those risks, and making sure that you are partnering with somebody who does themselves understand the risks that are involved. I want you to be able to calculate your return on investment. So that is cash flow, passive appreciation, active appreciation, and mortgage pay down. And you need to be able to know your exit strategy. Is this a flip? Is this a long-term buy and hold? Is this a 5-year hold? Is this my grandkids are going to have this property when I'm not around anymore? What do I mean by stabilize? Good question. So there's a stabilization period that goes on within an asset. And, you start off and there's a 3-month, you don't get a water bill for 3 months. You get a tax bill, just a little one, and then you get a bigger, much longer. Then you get a tax bill that's for the appropriate quarter. Maybe your hydro bills come in every 2 months. When does your mortgage payment come out? Does it come out on 30 days post closing, or did you set that for another date within the month? Are the tenants paying on time? When is that money being transitioned around? And you're like, whoa, Mandy, there's a lot of items in there. So when we talk about stabilizing a property, it's when you're like, okay, it's the first of the month, the rent comes in on the 2nd, the mortgage payment comes out on the 5th, the hydro bills come here. We like our tenants. They're very consistent. That's a good thing. And so you actually just realize that the property has become stabilized. It's less bouncy. Do you remember when you bought your first house? And you bought your first house and you were like, am I ever going to be able to make this payment? And however will I be able to make this payment? And you think about a car loan and a mortgage at the same time, and you're like, I'm only making the same amount as my job. How am I going to be able to pay all these things? And so it takes you a few months, and then you're like, oh, I got this. I can pay all these bills. And so you have become stabilized within within that property. And it's the same with a rental property. And what's this? Is the gross income, meaning the mortgage fee and the other fees are not deducted. So gross rate up here, monthly gross operating income, that is gross coming from the tenants. And then you take out your operating expense and you get your net operating expenses. Net operating income is gross operating income minus your net to be able to give you cash flow. Define cash flow. Cash flow is your income minus all of your expenses, including your mortgage, including a vacancy allowance and a maintenance allowance. Any money left over is cash flow. If you are going to manage the property yourself, you might not have to allocate a management fee. If you are handy and you can do some of the repairs and maintenance yourself, or you're buying a brand new property and maybe some of the maintenance will be low, you might be able to allocate a much lower maintenance allocation, but you should still have a maintenance number in your pro forma out of your income. What if there's $50 worth of parking? Well, you're going to have your rent plus your parking minus all of your expenses to be able to give you your cash flow. In this scenario here at Fairmont, you will see that I have not included any vacancy. And you're probably like, hey, Mandy, you said we always have to put a vacancy allowance. And I want you to, I hope somebody could catch me on that. This comes with a 3-year rental guarantee. So for 3 years, you do not have to question if there is going to be a vacancy or not, because you have a rental guarantee for somebody to be able to pay your rent every month. And that's not too common in many properties that you're purchasing. These are great questions, and I'm going to get to them very soon. So knowing what you know, I need you to be able to, you guys are using some great things, so keep that going. There we go, HELOC. Would you say that, do you feel a little bit more clear on the structure of a deal? Were you happy that you came to my webinar today? Leave me a yes in the checkbox there if you have learned something new. Do you see any advantages now of knowing what to look for when you're reviewing deals? There's nothing, my heart goes out to people when they say, I got all this information from an investor and I don't really understand it. Well, I want you to be able to understand the deal. Give me a yes if you can see what I showed you today will help you grow your portfolio. I want you to be able to know, how am I going to be able to buy another property? What does that look like? What happens if I refinance it? What happens to my ROI? Can you imagine if you're somebody who wants to attract joint venture partners and you're able to give them a pro forma and say, look at this, it's going to be a 48% ROI, and you can explain it. Gosh, there's so many benefits to that. And even if you only use a fraction of what I've showed you today, would you say that it was well worth your time? And you know me, on a Thursday night, I've invested my time, and I know you have too. And just being here to be able to continue your education, surround yourself with like-minded investors who are also here learning at the same time. And if you would like to spend some more time together, go deeper into some of these deals, like the one that I've showed you grow your portfolio today, please just reach out. Now you have a choice to make. Ooh, do you do the blue pill or the red pill? This is not the Matrix. We can hop on a discovery call, though. We can hop on a discovery call. We can discuss these Fairmont Hot Springs deals. If you've got $105,000 worth of HELOC space or home equity line of credit is what I was trying to say, then we can hop on a deal on a discovery call. We can go over those deals, and maybe this is going to be a really great asset for you to be able to add to your portfolio. Maybe it's just, going to be an asset that you're going to be able to have passively if you're an active investor. Realizing in today's dollars, I went and looked at a very large building today, and the gentleman said, wow, that's a high amount that the sellers are wanting. Who would ever pay that? And I said, the difference is if somebody's got money sitting in a bank account, it's making what right now? If if you've been and seen your bank updated lately as to how much interest you're getting in your savings account. 0.5, 0.25, just under 1%. So if you could take your money, you've got a HELOC, and you could go and buy a property that's making you, after 1 year, 50% return, you're going to get back your 100 grand, all but 14,000. We just want to be able to make sure that you are not losing out on potential investment. That's not a loss. That's not meaning that you're going to lose money. We want to just be able to make sure that the lost potential that you might have on money that's sitting in a bank account right now has some options available for it. So what you can expect to talk about with me, real estate. Okay. When you hop on a discovery call, we're going to be talking real estate. We are going to strategize for where you want to go. We are going to see if one of these condos fit for your portfolio. If that's not what it is, and you want to, strategize over the possibility of a joint venture, but I'm going to guarantee you that we're definitely going to talk about real estate. So who is this for? Passive investors who want to feel clear on the deal structure and have a minimum of $100,000 to secure a property. Okay. I say a minimum of 100. Some of these are just over. I do have one of these deals at Fairmont that's only $95,000. So if you are looking for an alternative way to be able to invest, please feel free and book a time. So there are just so many deals out there, and I couldn't possibly invest in them all on my own. This is a team game. Come and join my team. I have been known to only to put my heart and soul in it and be my authentic self. And so I need people to be able to come with me. This is my mission, to help the world provide clean, safe, and appropriate housing. So if you want to be able to come and help with my mission, then I'd love for you to be able to book a discovery call. Okay. So I've got 2 days that I've opened up into my calendar. I know a lot of you that will say, Mandy, you're so busy. Well, I really value your time as much as I know that you value mine. And I'm going to make sure that it is the best time that we could put together. So come join my discovery calls. And thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. Please stick around because we are going to get into some questions. But I really, really, really want you to understand the anatomy of a deal. Thank you. But I'm not going to end it. We're just ending on this. So we're going to go stop share screen. So thank you, everybody. Now you got me. Now you have me for another hour. If you have questions that you would like to ask, please put them into the chat box. I am happy to be able to maybe we base it this way. I'm not going to be able to pull anybody up on screen, or maybe I can. I don't think I'll put anybody on the spot. But if you've got investing questions, if you've got questions that came up with regards to the anatomy of a deal, I'm happy to be able to discuss those with you and go over them and clarify, slow down and be able to chat with you. So, anybody have any questions? Can I have a drink? I'm gonna have a drink. My bubbly. No questions?